This is another amazing episode of Financipation, and on this particular channel, I talk about financial literacy. I talk about entrepreneurship. I like to interview entrepreneurs and like to basically push the community forward by talking about financial emancipation from the system that we currently live in. And I would say this, for this particular group, for this particular chat, I want to continue the discussion as far as talking to men, and more importantly, as far as talking to men in regards to how marriage and how positive relationships positively affect the generational wealth that we want to build. And I will go to my grave saying this, it is nearly impossible as a man to basically build generational wealth or to succeed financially, professionally, and socially if you plant your seed essentially in contaminated soil. So as a result, I tell every man basically that date with intention, date with a purpose, and basically find the right women, because when you do that, I find it's a lot easier essentially to build generational wealth. So before we get started on this particular topic, which is what men really want to let women know, I'll let you start first. I want you guys to start with the introduction. Introduce yourselves, tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from if you want to, your dating or relationship status, and let's get on. Let's keep it moving. Let's go. So start first with my brother, JC Remy at the top.
Good evening. First things first, I want to say thank you, Chris, for having this discussion. It's much needed, and I'm hoping, and I actually prayed about this too, that it'll be a blessing not only to us, but definitely those that are watching and will watch weeks, months from now. My name is JC Remy. I am in public safety. I lived here. I'm in Florida, however, I'm originally from New York, but I've lived here for a while. But I love to travel. I am not married. I am open to all the possibilities, but ultimately, I do want to be married, and it's my hope to, when I am married, prayerfully, that I married someone that shares my same faith, and we can grow together, so that when Jesus comes, we can both be saved.
Absolutely. That's absolutely. All right, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, JC. All right, Eric, you're up next, bro. Let me take you off of mute. You're up next.
Hey, thanks, Mr. Phelps, for having me. My name is Eric Drummond. I work with software integration, go live, and readiness. So, we work with companies who purchased a new software and they want to integrate it into their platform, and we help the end users get prepared to use it and to go live with it. I am married. I'm happily married. I have 2.5 kids, or you can say we have one on the way. But
congrats.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you. But very important conversation you're deciding to have today, Chris. I would love to share my experiences, because I got blessed. I met a gem, so I'm looking for the opportunity to just brag about her, not brag, but share, because she's been everything you're saying, how it's impossible without a good partner. You're absolutely right, man. So I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And I love that. It's something about seeing a Black family. I mean, I had an interesting experience as far as families and situations and everything. And it's something about seeing a Black man with his kids and a Black man with his wife and with his Black wife. That's just such a beautiful thing. And it's something, one of those kind of things that I think the message that sends basically to other communities that look down on our community, people who share our reflection, is so powerful. And so that's one reason why I wanted to do this, because there seems to be right now kind of somewhat of a war as far as men and women and as far as our community, what's going on in our families. And I don't like it, because I truly do believe that the fastest way to build generational wealth and to take anybody out of poverty is to basically have a strong nuclear Black family with a man and a woman in the household. So with that, fellas, let's get started. If I introduce myself, my name is Christopher Phelps. I'm a mechanical engineer. I have a MBA in finance, and I like talking to people, and I like kind of solving very complicated issues for the federal government, as well as for some very nice clients that I can't tell you too much about. But on this particular channel, I talk finance because I think that a community that understands how to build generational wealth is a community that's going to be in power one day, within 2 to 3 generations, actually. So with that, fellas, let's get started. My first question, as heterosexual alpha males, do you believe in gender roles? Do you believe in gender roles in your marriage? And if you're not married, do you believe in gender roles in dating? And I'll let my man Eric go first on this particular one.
Yeah. Yes, I absolutely do. I first of all, I'm a man, and I do take pride in kind of first of all, what I saw in my household growing up. If the lawn was high, there was never a day in my mind where I think my mom's gonna go out there and mow it. You know what I'm saying? She had 3 boys, she had my dad. We all early in the morning, we're up while the sun's up early, and we're out there taking care of it. And then when we be coming in hot and sweaty, my mom would have a nice meal ready for us. That's what I grew up seeing. So from there, and I do appreciate the way I was raised. I kind of want to pass something similar. If I'm driving in my wife's SUV and she gets a flat tire, in no way, shape, or form do I expect her to jump out the passenger seat and start, you know what I'm saying, unbolting that thing. No, that's my job. I want to see my kids. I want my kids to watch me jump out, fix the tire while mom just sits in the car and waits with them. And they know that I'm going to take care of those heavy lifting type responsibilities. And as men, we take pride in defending our home, because Chris, I know you know for a fact, if you hear something funny in the middle of the night, it's not your wife grabbing the shotty, right? That's you.
It's me.
We're going to go investigate, but we want to keep them back and keep them safe. Hey, if it's necessary, she calls 911, but I'm going to go out and see what's going on. So yes, to answer your question, 100%, I believe in it.
Got you. So you definitely do not believe that gender roles are outdated, and you don't believe that they no longer are required.
No,
Got
not
you.
at all.
Got you. All right, it's beautiful. Yeah, yeah. All right, JC, how about yourself, bro? Do you believe that gender roles are needed today?
Well, I will say that I'm not married, but I will say, based on the experience I had growing up with my mother and father, then the roles were defined. But I witnessed over the years how the roles kind of gets intertwined, or maybe sounds better. Let me say it became fluid, meaning my dad, even though he was a provider, he made sure that, my mother had gas in her car, my mother's tires were taken care of, the air conditioning in her worked, the heater was on point, you name it, he took care of all the mechanical stuff. He made sure, that everything was just together and was okay for my sister and I. My mother, on the other hand, she worked too, but she also made sure that the meals were taken care of, and my sister and I were clothed properly for church and for school and everything else. But as we got older, I noticed that my parents, that role was kind of like I said, wasn't defined after a while. I'll say that. My dad then stepped in and started helping with cooking. My mother stepped in and made sure other things were well. I will share something personal. My dad, after a while, got sick. So my mother stepped up and started doing some of the things my dad used to do. I'm not going to go further into it, but I will say, because of that, I know there's gender roles, but I'm open for the fact that my future wife, we can sit down, we can discuss these things. And of course, through marriage counseling, we can figure it out together and say, all right, cool. 2 or 3 days out of the week, you cook. Other 3 days or 4 days, if my math is correct, I'll cook. Or you know what? I think this is very sexy, because I learned how to cook lasagna one time. You and your wife together cooking. I will not mention her name, but I remember this woman teaching me how to cook lasagna. Oh, it was great. And it was a beautiful experience. So I can only imagine with my wife, how you're smiling. I can only imagine my wife, how beautiful it would be. So, oh yeah, I will make sure, she has gas in her car, tires are set, inflated, I should say. The grass is cut, everything that's needed for a woman to feel safe and comfortable. But I have no problem with going in the kitchen, and I would love for a woman to have a problem coming in and doing a couple of things right now. Because my mother right now, because my dad passed, my mother enjoys going out and doing lawn work. Matter of fact, today she was doing that, and I was like, wow, that's her thing. She enjoys it. So it's a beautiful thing. So I can go either way, but I love the bonding, 2 people coming together and just working it out. So in essence, what I'm saying is the roles can come together, and and everything. It's
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead, Eric.
Hey,
Go ahead.
Phelps, can I hit on that one? Hey,
Go. Yep, definitely.
feeding the family, I think, is a universal thing. And Phelps touched on this one time. He said he YouTubed the recipe and he made a banging, it was a tiki chicken, something like that.
Tiki masala.
There we go. And I started YouTubing recipes after Phelps told me. And those
Nice.
people think like, oh, cooking's only for ladies. I don't agree with that, because I think when you can make a busting meal as a man, and hey, that's another way of providing in a way. If you can provide a meal.
Yep. Your dating options improve significantly when you can cook, if you're a man. Believe that.
Yeah. And I'm gonna be real.
I'm still learning. It's sexy. It is.
Another thing I like to do, I do know my wife has favorite restaurants or spots she likes to frequent. So even if she can't get there sometimes, but say she's doing something with the kids, I know I can slide there on the sneak. I could pick up something to go and I could just show up at the house with it. And I'll be like, hey, I picked up something for you. And she'll be like, what's that? And then, you just lift up the to-go bag and she sees it. And then, her eyes light up because you're thinking about her, you know what I mean? So cooking, making sure people eat in a sense of gender role, that's just a way of being thoughtful and providing, man. That's just showing that love. And you give them what they want. You say more than likely they give you what you're looking for. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? So,
nah, bro, you were telling it completely like it is, Eric. And that's kind of one thing that I'll say about dating a lot of times in the day. When you say gender roles, there's this negative connotation to it. And just to get back to what you guys were saying, if you're a man listening to this podcast, learn to cook. I'm telling you right now, if your girl or your wife comes home, she worked 14 hours and her feet are hurting, she's been yelling at her boss, her boss been yelling at her. You come home, you basically are not wearing nothing, and you're cooking her favorite meal. I promise you, it will be a very good evening for you. I don't understand why there are certain guys out here that don't want to learn how to cook and to clean. I mean, I'm not saying we need to do it every night, but in general, there's certain things you can do to kind of make yourself a much more viable dating option. And I'm telling you right now, if you're a man that knows how to cook and clean, that's a beautiful thing. I also firmly believe that you should be able to defend your wife or defend your woman as well. So I personally have done martial arts. I believe in my Second Amendment rights. So as a result, I believe every man should be willing to defend himself. But the idea that women should not cook or that men should not cook, I think that's kind of crazy, to be honest with you. And I think it's pretty ridiculous as well. So I like that, fellas. I definitely agree with that. And in regards to the yard work and stuff like that, yeah, fellas, I think that yard work, that's definitely something else. I mean, I don't want my wife out in 95-degree Florida heat in July cutting the grass, and I'm sitting at home watching TV watching football on a Sunday. It literally makes no sense. Got you.
Right.
Yep. All right, cool. Well, I think that pretty much settles that question. Let's move on to the next one. Fellas, have you experienced both men and women bashing each other in the Black community? If so, please expound upon it and where you saw it. So I'll let you start first with this one, JC.
I think the obvious one is social media.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's getting out of hand. You see it on TV too, certain shows. Of course, with reality shows, you see it a lot. I mean, they're trying to promote love and relationships, but yet it's like gender wars. They're going back and forth. You did this, you did that. You don't understand me. On and on and on and on. And it's sad because it's. I remember having this conversation, really and truly, especially when it comes to us as Black people, we're being exploited. We're showing the world that we're incapable of loving each other. We're showing the world that we have no self-control. We're showing the world that we're bitter. We haven't healed yet, clearly. We have a lot of issues that have not been resolved yet. So in response, we're fighting, we're arguing, we're going crazy with each other. And of course, the money's there, but it's still, it's exploitation, and it's wrong. And I know this is another conversation, but I'm going to touch on it for like 2 seconds.
What do you think?
We can't complain about the issues that we're having if we're allowing America or the social media, whatever, I'm not going to say what it is, using us and exploiting us like that. And unfortunately, it's going to continue until we say, no, we're not doing this. We're going to find other ways of promoting positive Black content, promoting positive love between Black men and women, showing our children that mommy and daddy Hopefully they're married, but if they're not married, they still can coexist and love each other and care for each other. It has to stop, but of course we have to stop first. And until then, we're going to continue to have it. So it's sad. Social media is killing it right now, and we need to stop. I mean, we can't even have a simple conversation about issues in dating without everybody rah rah rah. You know, you did this, no, you did that.
All y'all is this, y'all niggas ain't this, you ain't that.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. So I'm hoping I'm answering your question, because that's what I'm seeing, and it's unfortunate because, you know, especially as a single man looking for a woman, I will hit this, and then I don't care when you have your comments later of other women saying stuff, they need to get this. You look at it and you say, wow, I'm looking for a wife, but I'm seeing how you're behaving. Why should I marry you?
Exactly.
Then again, why should you even act like you're the prize or you're worth it, or you throw that scripture of he that findeth a wife find a good thing, but yet you're yelling and screaming and acting a fool.
Yep.
What?
Like you were saying, like I said earlier, it gets back to that saying that I said, it's impossible for a man to succeed if you plant your seed in contaminated soil. If you got a woman screaming at you, yelling at you, throwing stuff at you, I mean, I can't imagine. I work in an extremely stressful career. I'm pretty sure all of us do. I can't imagine working 12 or 13 hours around a bunch of people who don't look like us, who don't want me there to begin with, give me lots of stress. And then I come home to a woman that's throwing stuff at me and screaming at me and yelling at me and stuff like that. And to the ladies out there listening, exactly, try to get out of this idea of basically just kind of tearing down the people who basically want to be with you, because that's a very quick way to basically be lonely, old, and bitter. Eric, let's go to you. Have you experienced both men and women bashing each other in the Black community? If so, please expand upon where.
Kind of like what Jason, you see a lot of that stuff in media, like they try to promote it as if that's what our culture is about. You see a little bit on like social, mainly, but I do see it a lot more in certain socioeconomic brackets. Not like
the love and hip hop type crowd.
There we go. You see a lot of it in like basically hip hop culture, or you know, the wannabe Hollywood culture type thing. You see a lot of the bashing. There's some other areas though where you don't really see it as much. You see more people looking for the wholesome, people trying to get on the up and up. There's a lot of dudes trying to be on their entrepreneur game. They're trying to be that Barack Obama, and they're trying to find themselves a Michelle. So you don't really see it a lot there per se, but in some other areas you see it. I just don't buy into it, because a lot of where we're trying to get financially, where we're trying to be, so our kids have an inheritance that's so many figures that people are like, how are you going to pass that down without the government touching it? Exactly. People who are in that type of mind frame, you tend to not really associate with that type of negativity, you know? And kind of like you're saying, you don't want to work a stressful job and come home and get stressed. So you find that sexy woman who brings you that peace and comfort. You feel me? Yeah, so to answer your question, I do see it. I just personally stay away from that, because my mind's too like, I need to guard it, protect it, so I can stay on my mission. You feel me? So
yeah, I think that if we also to keep it 100 as well, there is an agenda to pretty much keep Black people at war with each other. And the reason why I say that is because if you take a look at it, the people that are writing these shows, the ones that are really serious at the top, they don't look like us. So the Beckys, the Ryans, the Enriques, these are the ones who are behind these toxic reality TV. I'm not gonna give them a shout out, but you know which ones I'm talking about. Yeah. These are the ones basically that are selling this like legit garbage to our community. Yeah. If you take a look at like just the history of magazines like Cosmopolitan and stuff like that, those magazines were basically started in the 1970s to pretty much market an image to Black people, saying, okay, Black women, don't marry your men, be out here, hot girl, summer it up, have sex with whoever you want, basically get your career in order, basically make your money, stack your paper, and then when you're 40 years old, you're gonna get fired from the job that you have because you're only making $30,000, $35,000 a year, and you're gonna be homeless possibly when you're 65. Seriously, if you take a look at some of the images basically that have been sold to our people, it's essentially white feminists and white supremacists that are behind this agenda to kind of take men out of the home and kind of separate the Black family and the man from the woman.
Hey, I want to touch on something you just said. I remember this, I think it was a couple years ago. There was an article saying, do Black women look better when they look more like white women, saying basically if their hair is straight and stuff like that. There was an article projected, and I think maybe Ebony magazine might have touched on a little angle of that, like basically saying, do black women look better if they appear more like how the mod? And I was so offended by that, man. Like real talk, but it's like there's nothing you could do because like I don't own a magazine, I can't target them. There's no
Eric,
lawsuit.
Right. But Eric, I do think there's one thing we can do though. If we stop supporting that trash, it's going to be good. Like, I mean, I know, I don't, I mean, I was a kid, grew up in hip hop. I mean, Jay-Z, Biggie, Tupac, Dre, those are my dudes or whatever. But as I got older, I started realizing, okay, this stuff is not putting anything positive in me. And more importantly, when I'm driving to work or driving to wherever, blasting this stuff, the dude sitting next to me wants to call the police on me. So it's just kind of like, as black people, we got to stop consuming, stop consuming the poison.
Can we hit on one thing though? You were saying that media tries to pit us against each other. Remember, hip hop in its pinnacle was Tupac versus Biggie, or East versus West. So Blood versus Crip. Like everything is us against each other, and there's no supporting of things like the Black Panthers, which was us together against them. You know, that made them nervous, and that's when Reaganomics started. You feel me?
Exactly.
So,
and not only that either, Eric. If you think about it, and once again, I'm a product of hip hop or whatever. If you think about it, we all are. Exactly, all of us are. If you think about it, there is no mention about having a strong father in the household, pretty much in hip hop. There is no mention about basically marrying your wife and marrying. That's the case. And I know, just want to make this about hip hop because we could get on Reaganomics, we get on mass incarceration, we get on the world, all this. Yeah, JC, go ahead. We can get on all that stuff, but it's like there's an agenda to pull us apart. JC, I saw you raise your hand. Go ahead, bro.
Interesting. You said that when it comes to hip hop and not promoting a husband, not promoting fathers and structure of the home. I'm insulted by two people. I think you mentioned one. Back in the 80s and 90s, or more 90s, hip hop, 2000 hip hop, Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube, okay, and even Jay-Z. They're happily they're married with children, but yet families. They have songs that were totally against the father in the home, providing for a family, loving one woman, loving your children, promoting positivity in the home and in the community too. You were destroying the community, but now in their 50s, I give them their props. They're trying now. They're doing things different, but the damage is already done.
Yep.
I think, not to sound bitter, but I think and they need to be held accountable. Even though they're trying to do better, they still need to be held accountable because they are along with a few other rappers back in the day, back in the 90s and the 2000s. I mean, they were doing a lot of damage. A lot of young people were being influenced by this. And then now it's like, oh, I'm with my wife in LA. I'm with my wife in New York. I'm with my wife in, wherever, in a big 20, 40 room mansion or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And then the rest of us are in the community struggling and dealing with issues that were, so I just to piggyback on what you were saying earlier,
you're right.
That bothers me.
And this kind of gets me back to what you said a little earlier, Eric, in regards to about having a man in the home and basically being married and having fathers. So I'm an engineer. I run numbers. I run statistics. So I look at the world in a very analytical way. So just to give you guys some statistics or whatever, I ran the numbers. Okay, what happens when you don't have a man in the house? So according to these statistics, 85% of the men who are currently sitting in United States prisons right now, they say they grew up without a father. 85%. What do gangbangers such as the Crips, the Bloods, MS-13, ISIS, Al-Qaeda all have in common? They grew up without a father. What do Dylan Roof and most mass shooters that are white men who come from affluent backgrounds have in common? They all say, my dad worked too much. I never saw him. The Hitler Youth of the 1940s, same thing with them. They said Hitler basically kidnapped children and took them from their fathers, and they never got a chance to know them. So boys that don't have fathers, they end up becoming men who hurt other human beings. You about to say something, Eric?
It's crazy that you said that. I talked to one of my coworkers today. I was helping him figure out a problem for his end of his software, and we were just on Zoom chatting. And he was like, "Dude," and he just started telling me about himself. And I let him talk, and he told me the same thing. He's like, "My dad was gone." He said 90% of the time my dad was working. So my mom me and my sister could be comfortable. So he's like, I kind of grew up just kind of around them. And he was telling me all the kind of crazy stuff he did in his lifetime. And dude sounded like he was kind of hurt. Like, you know, it wasn't a psychological session. You know, we're trying to get our work done. But the fact that you just mentioned that about the fathers being absent, and I just remember this because this happened like 2 days ago. The guy was telling me all this stuff. It's a sad reality, man. It happens more than we think, bro. It happens more than we think. And in a lot of these situations, there's people don't really seek therapy. So there's nothing we can do about it. You know, we can show them love, we can listen, but it's tough out there, man.
Yep. And just so we can keep both sides of the coin or whatever, hip hop did a lot of damage to the community, but I think Reaganomics did a lot. I've never seen a poppy field in the hood, and I've lived in 5 different murder capitals. I've never seen poppy fields in the projects, just never have. You don't basically make Glocks or AR-15s in the hood either. So somebody's bringing that crap in. Yeah, like it is, man. There's an agenda in capitalism. You have to, and this is a financial channel. And in order to have capitalism to work, you have to have a working underclass. Yes. And if you're on the top, you don't want the working underclass to look like you. You want the working underclass to look like them. So Black people, let's stop supporting trash that's basically destroying our people, period.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey,
yeah, what's up, bro? Go.
We talked about JC mentioned something about Snoop. Snoop had a very successful rap career, and he's literally been married this whole time. A lot of his music talks about how he's receiving
his sweetheart.
Yeah. And his wife loves him, man. They have a dope relationship. But his music, his Doggy Style album, bro, he was teaching us some things that we should have been learning, bro.
You know, I still remember that album cover to this day. I got that from my older, whatever. I won't finish that. All right. But shout out to Snoop, by the way. By the way, the Super Bowl halftime, the show was off the hook.
That was fire. That was fire.
As a kid of hip hop, I ain't gonna lie, that was dope. So
that was fire.
Hey, yeah. All right. So for the married man on this channel, chat, I guess for me, because I'm married as well. Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus, for that. Yes. What qualities do you look for in a wife? And for the guys that are dating and want to be married, what qualities are you looking for in a wife? Eric, I'll let you start with this one, okay?
Oh, man, this is, I was ready for this one. So, all right, let me just explain how this worked. All right, so, you know, when I was like 17, you know, I asked my dad, I was like, yo, Dad, like, what should I look for in a wife, right? Because, you know, we're growing up, we were very interested in women just because from the music we were hearing, right? But, you know, you always knew you wanted a wife. So, my dad was like, yo, you want yourself an intelligent woman. He's like, you know, don't bother deal with the, you know, those that aren't too bright. He's like, a sharp girl who can like challenge you mentally, because he's like, yo, iron sharpens iron, you know what I mean? And my dad would sit there and brag about my mom. He's like, man, your mom was so smart. He's like, your mom has always been the best nurse at whatever hospital she's worked at. And so he's like, you got to value intelligence. He's like, you know, it was kind of weird hearing this from my dad, but he's like, it's always nice when they look good, right? You know, old school. He's like, you have a hard day. He's like, nothing like coming home to a pretty face.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't superficial. It was just my dad being my dad. And he went on to be like, he's like, man, back in the day, your mom. And I'm like, I don't want to hear that, right? You're like, yeah. But he was keeping it real. He's like, man, your mom looked good to me. So I was like, okay. So I always wanted an intelligent, beautiful girl who loved Christ. Like Christ was like one of her main focuses, and she liked helping other people. You know what I'm saying? Like whether it's sharing advice, sharing your time, or like if somebody's down and out and she's gonna reach out and give them some money, like that heart of like sympathy and empathy. Like I always like that. You know what I'm saying? But I also like an ambitious woman who has goals. Like, listen, we grew up like this. We're trying to end it like this.
Absolutely.
Because my dad was like, yo, opposites attract, but similarities keep you together. So you know, I might be an extrovert a little bit. My wife is an introvert, so we're kind of opposites. But the thing we have in common, we both like to set goals and we both like to go for them things. You know what I'm saying? Like no matter what, we're about to chase them. And I think some of those commonalities keep you together. So I would love to be like 70 and look back like, yo, when we got together, we had like negative $50,000. All we had was, you know what I'm saying? We just had student loan debts. But now We done flipped it.
Got you.
So
Love
that's what I like to look for.
All right, cool. So you like your woman to be intelligent, you like her to be smart, you basically want your similarities, you want to be very similar, but the differences that you do have, you don't want them to be that much as well. So
Yeah.
I love it. You want her to be Christ-centered, and basically from also sounding from the way that you said, you want her to be financially savvy. If you guys start with negative 50,000, she knows how to stack that thing and basically make it 500,000.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, cool. And your dad said that he liked your mom was the things are nice.
Yeah, man. That was an awkward conversation, but he was like, yeah, sometimes that figure look good.
Hey, figure. I'm gonna talk more about that figure later. But yeah. All right, JC, how about yourself, bro?
All right. Bear with me. Give me like 4 minutes, 3 minutes, hopefully five to really get this. Okay. So I'm piggybacking off what Eric said. And I know a lot of men say this, but I'm true. I'm true with what I'm saying, and I'm going to back it up with some facts. Qualities that my mother's possess. I know I'm not going to meet my mother, but qualities. And I'll say this, okay? I'm gonna run it down. My mother, based on what I know, by talking to my dad and also talking to my mother and other people, my mother was a wife before she became a wife.
Wow.
She was put in a position where she had to take care of her siblings. She was helping her mother. And during that time, she was cooking, she was cleaning and everything. And I'm not trying to say, oh, a wife has to clean. Please understand that. But my mother was doing the things that a mother would do, plus a wife would do. She was preparing herself. My mother had education on her mind. However, she had a balance, but she also believed in family, and she believed in being a wife to her husband, who was God sent. That was the key right there. And so what she did, she moved from Jamaica to England. She went to nursing school and everything else, got her nursing degree and everything else there. She met my dad in church. My dad courted my mother because he saw the quality in her. My mother didn't have to tell her, oh, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. He never told her that. She saw that. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. He saw that. So he courted her for like, they told me around 3 years or whatever. Yeah. He courted her. They got married in church. My mother had standards. And later on, I guess we'll talk more about that. My mother had standards. So my dad had to come correct. My dad grew up as a Catholic, then later on converted to the same faith as my mother. Okay. So he had to come correct spiritually. He came correct spiritually before he met my mother, but still, he had to come correct my mother. My mother, in time, they got married. Okay. My dad only had a 3rd grade education. This was back in the, 70s. But my mother saw beyond that. She saw he was a hardworking man. My dad was a licensed mechanic. He was a hard worker, he was a provider.
Blue collar, stand up.
Exactly. And my mother saw beyond that, even though her girlfriends were saying, nah, cut that guy, he's not worth it, You need to have a quote unquote baller, all that stuff.
High value, have a high value man.
All of that. My parents been married for 43 years before my father passed. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is my mother, even though she valued education, she valued family, she valued being a wife, being a mother. My mother, from what I saw growing up when my parents were together, she respected my father. My mother was the breadwinner. Yeah. But she respected my father. My mother made good money. My dad made good money in New York at the time. You're making good money. However, because she was a registered nurse, she made a little bit more money, but she still respected him. They prayed together morning and night. They took it to church, on and on. It was a lot of positive things. I'm not saying anything didn't happen that wasn't the best, but I didn't see it.
Right.
Is the qualities that she possessed and she showed me. I said to myself, I'm not asking for too much to meet another woman like that. I'm asking for the basics. My mother thought ahead. She wasn't living, like Chris said, hot girl summer. She thought about, I want to be a wife. I don't want to bring my baggage of doing the hot girl summer thing to my husband. Yeah, she had boyfriends. She dated the Christian way, by the way. But anyway, she had boyfriends, but she wasn't thinking about hot girl summer. She was thinking about, I'm going to be a wife. I'm going to have children because I've already started raising children. Raising my siblings with children and everything else. So she had that mindset already. So to end what I'm saying, that's a quality. It's real to me. That's the kind of qualities that I look for. Someone that's prepared before they even become a wife, someone that is moving in a direction, someone that believes that at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, there's blessings. So they're not going to live for right now and do whatever, hot girl summer, the carousel as they call it and all of that stuff. They're not going to,
yeah, the CC, exactly. Right.
So
right.
that's my answer to you. I mean, it's one of those things. And I mean, even to this day, I don't tell my mother every day, but I'm thankful. I mean, I love the woman she is. And one other thing, because I want to add what Eric said. I remember my mother had enough respect for my dad to wear appropriate clothing when she was around him and when she wasn't around him. My mother has a nice shape. She had it back then, and for her age, she has it now. She always was into allowing my dad, no, not my dad, other people, if anything else, imagine what's there. She wasn't showing it to everybody. She wore appropriate clothing.
Exactly.
For my dad, it was different. My dad got the goods or whatever, but my mother always kept that in mind. That's a beautiful quality. And when I meet women that are, I call it conservatively sexy. When I meet women like that, I'm turned on, because you know what? The whole world doesn't have to see it. You are allowing me to use the God-given brain, the brain that God gave me, to imagine what I could get instead of seeing, everything in its fullness. Because I'm turned off after 10 seconds of looking at it, because what else can I do? So anyway, that's what it is right there. I hope I answered the question.
It's a beautiful thing, and both you brothers definitely did. Based off of honestly what I saw, all of you guys basically described a woman that was fit, that was feminine, that was financially savvy, that basically was family oriented, because all your wives, basically the women that you guys described, basically were all very family oriented. They were very peaceful. It did not sound like any of these women had an insanely high or any type of body count for that matter to begin with. And in general, they sound like the kind of women where basically you can come home to being in peace. And ladies, that is honestly what we're looking for. Men, we're really not all that challenging. I mean, seriously, we want a woman that's fit, who's fit, who's family oriented, who's friendly, who's financially savvy, basically, who's supportive, who's cooperative, and basically who has our back. That's what we want. I'm a happy married man. One thing I love about my wife, a lot of things I love about my wife, is one, I find her to be drop dead gorgeous. I find her to basically be very friendly. She was very into Christ when I met her. She's still very into Christ. And on top of that, she was very family oriented. And I'm just like to piggyback on what JC said, my wife's a personal trainer. And when I met her, basically, she was covered. She knows how to dress sexy when we're stepping out for a night on the town. And she knows how to basically when it's time to basically to be conservative. And that's the kind of mix that I think a lot of women today, basically, unfortunately, they're kind of missing out on, because as guys, if we're basically in that mindset, we're going to do what we want to do. We're going to do what we need to do and say what we need to say so we can get what we want to get. And then once we get what we want to get, we're going to move on. But when you see a woman that's basically dressed like, say, like a Michelle Obama type, you're going to come at her very differently from Brenda who's standing on the block. So basically, ladies, listen to what these brothers are saying in regards to what we talked about. All right, next question, fellas, next question. And I'm going to say this 2 times. I am not talking about the women that basically have thyroid issues, have health issues or whatever. Once again, I am not talking about the women that have thyroid and health issues. I'm a certified personal trainer. My wife is a certified personal trainer. We all have over 20, but we both collectively have over 20 years of personal training experience. So I'm not talking about the people who can't lose weight. I'm talking about the fully functional women who basically refuse to lose weight. Eric, I'll let you start with this one first. Does a woman's weight matter in regards to you approaching her for dating and approaching her ultimately to be your wife? Does her weight matter? Go.
Yes. Yeah. And as does mine. So I'm not gonna say that's a one-way street, but bro, I'm trying not to laugh because thyroid issues are very serious. But
we have serious conversations on this channel. So
yeah. One thing I love about my wife, bro, she leg day, she goes hard, bro. Yo, it's scary, man. She be lunging, squatting, leg pressing, and she calls that one circuit. She goes back, and bro, I can't lunge like that, man. So when she's like, "You want to do legs with me?" I'm like, "No, that hurts." I'm like, "Yo, I'll do my own thing." No, she loves fitness. She opened up her own spinning studio.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and she was doing online classes in person, before COVID and stuff. And she was preaching like female fitness. She had very entertaining class, you know, pop music, whatever. And she wanted to just promote a high level of fitness. And she's like, yo, for me to have a class and sell it, I need to be it. So she was all about that. And I love that, man. I remember when I used to do like ab day with her and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. Oh, weight means a lot, because you want to see good habits that will be passed down to your kids. Absolutely. And like, you know, my kids used to go to my wife's studio and they used to want to ride the bikes and be like, hey, mommy, we're like you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. All right. Weight, fitness, the whole thing. Yes, sir.
Fitness and weight matter. All right. How about you, JC? Go ahead.
Well, first, I want to say, Chris, I appreciate you stressing the fact that we're not focusing on those that have health issues. I'm real sensitive to that, because you know, there's some women and even men too that, unfortunately, due to some health issues, they are unable to have the desired shape. After saying that, I do believe weight matters. I think it matters for men as well. But since we're on the topic of what we look for in a woman, and you being single, of course, it's very important, because men are visual.
Absolutely.
And I can only imagine as a married person, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I can only imagine the married person, it does something for you when you see your wife and she's like, she takes care of herself. And even, let's say 5 years after you're married, you're still seeing, oh my goodness, God, you blessed me with that? Yep. You know, 10 years. I mean, Eric, you mentioned you have children. So, you know, you're like, God, thank you for blessing me, you know? Right. So I can only imagine that. And of course, Chris, you'll experience the same thing. And so for me, I find it insulting for a woman, more than likely she knows that, to present me, to give me something that's not desired, and then demand I accept it. That's insulting.
Ooh. What's crazy about that concept as well? What's up, Eric? You got to say something?
No, go ahead, Chris. I'll follow you out.
What's crazy about that accepted thing is that, in what world does this exist? And the reason why I say that is that this reason. If you factor in men that are homosexual, guys that's gay, dudes that's locked up, men that are basically weirdos that have no game, guys that are broke, dudes that are married, men that are celibate, and guys that are like Catholic priest type dudes, there's about 10 heterosexual women for every one heterosexual man. So ladies, we are the consumer of, heterosexual men are the consumer of heterosexual women. So basically, if a woman does not want to take care of her body or her anatomy, it is not, if you are a guy who basically has options, you're just going to replace the one who does not want to take care of her body with one who does want to take care of her body. And just like JC said, women, God made us to be visual creatures. So take care of your anatomy. Eric, I have another point I want to say, but I want you to go. Go ahead.
No, JC said something, man, that was powerful. It was almost spiritual. You said, why would you bring something to me that is unacceptable and want me to like accept it? And we could take this back to Cain and Abel, man. Yep. I know this isn't a biblical channel, but God asked for a lamb.
Yep.
And my man brought fresh produce, right? Fresh produce is good, but that's not what he was looking for.
Exactly.
Facts.
We like something. Bring us that. Bring us the lamb. Exactly. I appreciate your fresh produce, but that's not what I'm looking for. You feel me? I'll leave it like that so it remains sensitive.
Right. It's interesting you said that, because you know what? Women, and we all know this, expect certain things as well. And if we're lacking in those areas, they cut us off.
Yeah.
You won't even get a first date.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, they want that financial stability. They want some education. Exactly. I mean, all professions, everything, you know, so we know that. So we do our best to make sure that we're on point. Yeah. So if we're doing what we can, along with most of us work out, or try to at least, if we're bringing those things to the quote unquote table, let's just say that, why can't you give me something that's fairly simple? Just work out, eat healthy.
Hey, can I hit something on the flip side though?
Yep.
For years, the gym will be loaded with black dudes trying to get swole, right? So you're in the gym, you know, with LA Fitness, Gold's Gym, whatever. You see brothers all over. And I used to be like, man, where are all the sisters at? Like, exactly. I used to think that.
Exactly.
But I don't know what happened lately. Yo, gym's loaded with black girls now. which is, I think it's gonna be, if this is the trend,
I hope
boy,
so.
I say next 5 years, man, watch out, man. Black girls gonna be dangerous, which is a
sincerely-
good thing for our community.
That one.
I sincerely hope so, Eric. Like I said, because I'm an analytical dude, I bring numbers and everything to the table. And I sincerely hope, Eric, that we are moving to an era where our women are working out like crazy. But currently, this is the era we live in right now. As of now, once again, I'm getting this from minorityhealth.gov, 80%, 4 out of 5 Black women in America are obese. The average Black woman in America, unfortunately, is 5'4", 187 pounds. At that weight, that means the average Black woman in America is overweight and in most cases is actually obese. And it's not just, however, women. Right now, the United States military, one of our generals basically says it is a national epidemic in that 3 out of the 4 men who graduate from high school today would be too fat and of no and would not have the mental capacity basically to pass basic training. So 3 out of 4 men in the 3 out of 4 men in America right now, high school boys that graduate from high school, would basically be of no use to the military because they could not pass basic training.
Wow.
So that's kind of the state that our country's in right now. 5'4", 187 pounds for our Black women with the BMI that is way too high. And basically 75% of our high school boys, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, and everything else, basically graduating and basically being too obese and too overweight to basically be of any use to the United States military. That's the country that we currently live in. So I'm glad all 3 of us basically take care of our bodies, but unfortunately, America's in general aren't. Hey, JC, you go ahead.
To add what you're saying, it's unfortunate about those numbers, but what I mentioned a while back with the cooking, I would love to work out with the person I'm married to, or the person I'm dating to marry. Let me say that, because that's key right there. I think it brings you closer. It creates a bond, hopefully the breakable bond, but it also allows you to get to know the person better. And also you're benefiting because you're taking care of your body. The same body that I want to see in a nice sundress,
the sundress,
jeans, whatever. Okay, you're working out, so I'm
nice
seeing the
progress. Heels with French manicure toes.
Yeah, exactly. And I do know, just by having conversations with women like to see a well-dressed or a man that takes care of their body too. So we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, and that comes with being cooperative. That comes with being, you really want to come together and make it work. You just don't want to settle for, well, I was cool in my 20s, so I just, I'll be all right in my 30s. No, because
it don't work that
Chris,
way.
Honest with you, girl with a big butt is not enough. It's not enough.
Nah, but it's actually funny you say that, JC. I'm a professional. I got offers to box, to kickbox, and to do mixed martial arts professionally. I've actually fought in cages and rings and stuff like that. My wife right now is 8 months pregnant. When we first started dating, I would tell her Thursday nights I'm going to the gym to spar. She's like, "What does that mean?" I was like, "Basically, I get in the ring and I fight other professional fighters." She was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, it's fun." So basically, my wife, I started bringing her to the gym with me. I would never let her get hit or anything like that, but I like to get in the ring, hold the pads with her and stuff like that. And she actually does it. I mean, she doesn't compete, but she actually likes this. She says, "Chris, once a week we need to kickbox or whatever." My wife is 8 months pregnant now. So actually, if you go to my basically my channel, you can see us basically sparring and hitting pads together. And it's a beautiful thing because we're basically keeping each other in shape, and I'm teaching her how to defend herself. So I agree with you, JC. As a married man, working out brings you together. Cooking brings you together. It is it is an amazing aphrodisiac. And on top of that, basically, you're basically maintaining your temples for each other. So to anybody listening, workout people. I mean, there's a lot of people that talk about, "Oh, you're fat shaming, body positivity, take me as I am," is nonsense. Take care of the temple that God gave you. I will say this, and then in closing, because this is a financial thing. CEOs, typically speaking, are healthy people. If you take a look at any CEO of a Fortune 500 company, very rarely are they morbidly obese. If you if God blesses you with a job, you make $100,000 a year, you die of a heart attack at 40 years old. If the retirement age is 65, you just cost your family $2.5 million because you died 25 years prematurely. Take care of your body, people, and work out. All right, guys, we got some really good questions. I got to keep going. Okay. Fellas, do you think women today were taught how to be wives and in relationships, or do you think women today would rather be baby mamas, divorced, not even single mothers, basically just baby mamas? So a single mother to me is a woman that was married and was divorced. Do you think women today would rather be wives, or do you think they would rather be baby mamas? Eric, go first.
This is a tough one, man, because once again, I think this is kind of what you grew up around. So or socioeconomic class, if you're like an affluent Black woman or you come from an affluent family, most of them want to be wives. And most of them know how to be off the gate because, you know what I mean, that's what kind of family they grew up with. So, or different parts of the country, some of those like people from like quaint southern or small southern states with like where they have like a small like church family type thing, they seem like out the gate to kind of know the wifely thing. But then there's some of the city or maybe some of the impoverished areas where they never really see marriage at all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it depends on the individual, but I kind of see kind of where you're going with it.
Yeah, because I love mentoring. Mentoring is one of those things I love, and I talked to one time young girls who are in high school, and I was talking about the seriousness of finding a good career, getting to it early, start to save, make sure you're out of debt, you know, just the whole thing to get on track. And I remember I asked them, I was like, I'm not saying, because you know their moms were there. I was like, do you guys want to be married? And they were from a part of town where possibly there's not a lot of money going around. And they were like, I don't know. Like marriage? Why would I want to be with one person? And I was like, whoa. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I was like, I'm married. You know, this is my wife right here. And I was like, we do really well together. And they were looking like, that's good for you. You know what I'm saying? So I think this is a part of like your upbringing, where you're from, that helps determine what you want. Because I know there's some ladies who want it, but then there's some who just, they don't know what it is.
I think it's a toxic, just to jump in, I think it's a toxic idea that is sold to our community. So it's a social construct that's poison, for one, because I'll go into the numbers later, but it's extremely hard for a woman who basically makes $40,000 a year, and the typical woman in America, the Black woman anyway, some studies say makes $28,000 a year. Some studies say makes less than $40,000 a year. 75% of Black women, though, according to US Census.gov, make less than $50,000 a year. It's extremely hard for a woman who's made $50,000 over a 40-year career to basically retire with dignity and respect. The reason why I say that is because in order to basically retire at 65 and live to 85, which is when most millennials are going to die, you basically have to have about $2.5 million in the bank. It's extremely hard to have $2.5 million in the bank if you were a baby mama, you had one or two kids, and you spent your entire career basically only making about $45,000 to $50,000 a year. So it's a social construct to basically sell women on this idea, basically, that you essentially don't need a man. And it's pretty much all around us. If you've ever heard that movie Waiting to Excel, the movie was whatever. If you actually read the book, there were actually successful Black families and couples in that book that were married and that were dating. They were successful couples. They did not put that in the movie, though. And if you think about things like love and hip hop and other things in our media, is basically pushing this narrative for our women to be baby mamas. And that's why I want to have this discussion, because Eric, you're a happily married man, and marriage was the best thing, I'm assuming, that ever happened to you. It was absolutely the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm not even going to try to act like it wasn't. So I think, to me, it's just nonsense basically trying to sell poison in our community. But all right, JC, go ahead. Do you think our women were raised to be wives, or do you think they're being told to be baby mamas instead?
I think the majority of women back in the 20th century,
60s and 70s.
Well, yeah, 80s too, maybe 90s, were raised to be wives. I will not say I know what happened exactly to turn things around, but now in the 2000s and currently, women are not. Social media, of course, plays a part in it. The broken homes that we have, where young girls are being raised, and it's not just being with a single mother, it could be with a grandmother, it could be with a single father. I mean, unfortunately, so we have to be real about this, sometimes they've been molested, sometimes, and they've been, treated unfairly as a child growing up. In their mind, they think, well, to be loved, I have to do whatever, and then of course become a child, because then now I have that child that I can love, as opposed to I want to wait for a husband. I touched earlier about a few seconds ago, I should say, about social media. Social media is bad. I mean, we have some powerful people that have that are influencers. My apologies for that. And they're not promoting marriage. They're not promoting waiting. They're not promoting be a wife before, how do they say it? Wife before you carry, or something like that.
Marry before you carry.
And it's unfortunate because I've, especially in my profession, I'm not the best in numbers, but I will say 8 out of 10 women I come across, maybe 7 out of 10, I'm gonna be nice about it, are single mothers. And it's unfortunate because they're quick to blame the father, or they're quick to blame society, but we got to be real about it. It's a choice as well.
Yeah.
It's sad because the next generation is going to follow suit unless we figure out a way to stop this from happening. And I'll probably get crucified for this, but I have to say it. We got to hold the church accountable as well, because the church is not stressing. There's a standard. You know, I'm not going to specifics because maybe some pastor will see this and then I'm gonna have to have an argument about it. I'm not arguing with the pastor. I'll tell you what's up, but I'm not going to argue with you. They need to hold their standards in church. You know, yes, single parent come in church, you know, with a child. I get it. Bless her, everything. But while you're doing that, educate her and educate others after.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Yep.
You know.
Got you. So like I said, I like numbers, I like statistics and everything. Children born and raised in a two-parent household are 80% more likely to move from poverty into the middle class. I'm gonna say that again. Children raised in a two-parent household, by two-parent, I mean man and woman, father and wife, are 80% more likely to move from poverty into the middle class. Children born into the middle class without a married dad, however, are almost 4 times more likely to be moving to poverty before they're 18. So children born into the house, that's a baby mama house, essentially, they're basically 4 times more likely to move into poverty before they turn 18. Children born into a two-parent nuclear household are nearly 80% more likely to move from poverty into the middle class. So basically, there's a reason why they're selling this nonsense that take the man out of the home, basically ninjas ain't you know what or whatever. There's a reason why that garbage is being sold to our community, because it's keeping us poor. And JC, you touched on a lot of really good points in regards to basically some of the percentage of women that you come across in your profession, and basically the amount of women basically that are, I hate to say it, but I will, baby mamas. So in keeping with that term in regards to where we are, let's move on to the next topic, because something I really want to answer while we still got a little bit more time. Would you tell your daughter to prioritize marriage? And what age would you tell her is the best age to marry? So I'm gonna let you go with that one, Eric. Do you have a daughter, by the way?
I do. She is the joy of my life, man. She is fantastic. She's a wonderful girl. Yeah, I'm gonna tell her to be I'm gonna tell her to not necessarily prioritize it, because I know her mom's not gonna want her to date. She's probably gonna like try to make her wait till she's like 20. But you know, I know it's like natural, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, she's gonna mature, she's gonna start wanting to have feelings. But the cute thing I noticed about her, she's a natural caretaker. Like, she likes to check on my wife, like, mommy, are you okay? Do you need anything? Do you want any water? She does the same thing for me. Like, if I'm working, she's like, daddy, you're working hard. Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, baby, I'm good. She's like, can I give you a kiss? Like, she's real sweet like that. I just know, man, one day she can be a wonderful, like, you know what I'm saying, woman. She's only 4, but she just, dude, she's so sweet, man. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
And
what age would you think? Would you tell her, babe, this is the kind of good age to get married? What age would you tell her?
Her mom got married at 25. I was 27.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
awesome and very rare.
I
ain't get married.
Yeah. But I knew though. I knew Phelps. I saw her. I was like, yo, she's beautiful. She's smart. She's everything I want. Bro, what am I? Because I know, I was like, let me ease off it. Somebody's about to take it. It's like a parking spot. You move out, somebody's moving right in. You flip. So I was like, nah, I'm taking this. This is mine. And she's more than lived up to everything I want. And I know if my daughter's raised in the house with this excellent woman I have, then she's gonna be a great woman too. You know what I'm saying? So age, I'll ask my wife about that. We'll talk about it, I guess, more when it comes to time. But I know when she's in her 20s, like when she's 18, I'm going to start forming her mind on what she should be looking for. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't let hip hop dictate what kind of man you want. Like, this is your dad. Yo, I hustled, I studied, when other people are out in the clubs, I'm in my books because I was like, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna be different. You know what I'm saying? And I want my accounts to be different.
Absolutely.
So I take that very seriously, and I want her to kind of look like the guy who's trying to get ahead. Give him the shot before the dude who's trying to smoke 3 joints and has his pants by his knees. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna try to help her with that.
I like that.
I like it. I like it.
I like that.
All right, all right. JC, if you God blesses you with a daughter, I guess what advice would you give her, and would you tell her to prioritize marriage? I'm sorry, and what age would you tell her is the best to marry? And I'll go last.
I will say I'm gonna start with the age first. I would say between 20 and 27. If you're 29, oh well, that's what it is. But 20 to 27, I say that because one, because of my mother, I mentioned that already. But two, I mean, looking at it now, the way young girls are carrying themselves, I'm not blaming the mom, I'm blaming the dad. However, I will say that social media has taken control of the young people. They have no real direction. They have all these ideas. They think they know everything, like we did when we were 21, 22, 23. Still, I think we had structure. Even though we had all the ideas in the world, we had some form of structure. This society of kids now, if I had a daughter, I would, of course, stress her, education is very important. But keep in mind that while you're, getting your education, make sure that you're presentable for the right man to find you. I will instill biblical principles because I'm quite sure if you heard this before, when people say, oh, I used to date so-and-so, and I used to date so-and-so, and I used to date so-and-so. You didn't date them. What you were doing is screwing them. Exactly. What you're doing is creating soul ties with them. What you're doing now is have baggage, because emotional baggage, because now you got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys that you've been with, and you swear, oh, I've dated. No, there's nothing wrong with dating, meaning you're getting to know someone. You're taking your time to really see if they are a quality mate. You don't have to sleep with them to know them. You don't have to engage in something that can be life-threatening, that now you're somewhat mentally, maybe even physically ruined for your future husband. So I would stress that to her. I would also be as transparent as I can with my daughter. Let her know, hey, listen, I was once the guy. My hormones are running crazy. I had these crazy thoughts in my mind. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. I didn't have respect for those types of women. And I would break that down for her. I had respect for these types of women. And even at my age right now, these are the kind of women that generally get picked. These are the women that generally have respect. These are the women that excel. These are the women that don't excel. I mean, I will go on and on and on, but I would definitely encourage you to get an education as well, because I want you also to be a helpmate to your husband. Yeah. The education, you'll be able to help and be able to, look at my mother. I can't stress it enough, and you'll hear me for the rest.
Nothing is sexier than a woman that wants you, but doesn't necessarily need you.
Oh man!
A woman that gets her education, and a woman that basically still respects you, says, "I don't care how much money I make. I'm still gonna run your bath water. I'm still gonna cook you your dinner. I'm still gonna rub your feet. I'm still gonna whatever, rub your skull, rub your head, whatever it is that you're into." That stuff is very sexy. But when a woman basically does all that stuff, regardless of how much money she makes, how educated she is, that's a woman. You say, okay, this woman, I think you said it best, JC. She was a wife before she became a wife. So. Exactly. The beautiful thing. Like I said, I live in a world full of numbers. As in the 1960s or whatever, some studies say that 80% of our women were married and 80% of our kids were born in a 2-parent household. Today, roughly 73% of Black women are not married. And roughly 75 to 80%, depending on what studies that you read, I'm getting mine from uscensus.gov, 80% of our kids are growing up basically in a single-parent household. So what I'm going to tell my daughter, if I have one, right now, my wife is pregnant with a son. Pregnant with my son.
Congrats.
Yeah, appreciate it. Junior. What I'm going to tell my daughter, I'm going to be very honest with her. Your dad was that guy. So as a result, I'm going to basically just kind of tell her how we are as men, but I'm also going to tell her there's nothing wrong and there's nothing impossible about getting your education and getting your husband in college, or basically when you're working. So one thing I noticed about like a lot of the Latinas I went to college with, a lot of the Beckys I went to college with, a lot of the Marisols I went to college with, a lot of the women I went to school with that were not Black, that did not share our reflection, they basically were kind of finding their husbands around their junior and senior years in college. A lot of the sisters I went to school with, they were not. And a lot of the women I studied engineering with, and I basically worked in corporate America with, that did not share our reflection. During the summer times, they were getting married. 23, 24, 25, they were kind of getting out of the clubs and were getting invited to weddings, and they were in the weddings, and they were the brides being married. Whereas a lot of the sisters that I basically worked with, 24, 25 was hot girl summer. It was Dubai this summer. It was Dubai this weekend, Miami Beach next weekend. They were in Costa Rica the weekend after that, living it up. And now they're 40 years old and 40 years old with 2 kids, and they basically, unfortunately, are not married. So what I'm gonna tell my little girl is quite simple. When you're in school, I want you to get an education. But while you're in school, I want you to start looking for, like Eric said, that guy basically studying in the library. Her father is an engineer. So I know what it's like to be that nerdy dude studying in college, because you know you're going to be making very good money once you graduate. And I'm going to tell her, don't look at the dudes who are popular today. Look at where that guy's going to be tomorrow, where he's going to be 3 to 5 years from now. I'm also going to tell my little girl, don't put yourself in a situation where you're a 40-year-old woman essentially competing with 20-year-old women for a 30-year-old man. And a lot of women, particularly our women, do that. They basically put so much emphasis into their career and into making money and stacking paper that they have the idea, okay, when I'm 30 years old, it's going to be easier for me to get out here and date, not realizing that when they're 30 years old, the 30-year-old guys don't want them. They want the 20-year-old women. Eric, you about to say something to go?
Yeah, I want to touch on that this though, because a lot of this once again is like, all right, let me do this before I get to where I'm going. Phelps,
what's up?
JC, back in the day, say we're in high school or college, you're with your boys in like a circle, you're just talking like, yo, what are we doing this weekend? And a girl walks by, right? One of them nice girls, and you're like, yo, she's wife material. Do y'all remember saying that? Was that because we used to say that.
We would that's wife material, but that wasn't the one you would go after right then and there. You would go after.
Yeah. You're like,
exactly.
Like,
let's be honest, let's keep it real.
See her and you're like, that's a wife. And we joke like, yo, that's the one you settle with. It's like, you knew from young, even if you weren't ready to settle, you knew that's the type to settle with. And those were normally the ones that got scooped up quick. Yep. Like, I mean, dudes is like lightning with it, because you know she has everything that will make the type of home you want for your kids, right?
Yep.
So it's like,
there's a few.
They're out there, but they get yanked up quick, or some of them are kind of calm.
A quality product does not stay on the market for long at all. I don't care what industry it is.
And so I know a lot of those, once again, and I don't want everything to be about money. Like, I don't want people to think like I just think everything's like socioeconomic, but I just think like, or especially some cultures like JC, you might have said you're from Jamaican culture. We're kind of, I know island culture in general, you're raised kind of like a certain way, a lot of discipline. Parents want to make sure discipline. They preach success a lot. Like, you can't, my mom, I'm not bailing you out to any jail. She's like, I want to see you walk down and get your diploma. My mom was always all about success. So exactly. So in my mind, that's kind of what I always thought, okay, this is what I'm expected to do, so I'm going to be successful. I just don't think certain demographics teach their daughters about these qualities that the brothers is looking for. You know what I'm saying? So
I think sometimes the guys too, we got to just kind of pull girls to the side and be like, look, this is really what guys are looking for. They may quote unquote want such and such, but when they're looking for their wives, this is what we want. I think we got to sometimes be a little more vocal about exactly what it is too.
But you have to admit, like I said, the ones we used to say is wife material, they knew off rip. They knew from when they were 14, 15, their parents were molding them into that, right? And the ones who were never, think about it, this is a bad saying, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but you know how they say you can't teach like an old dog new tricks? Imagine like, and this goes for men too, women growing up their whole life not really seeing what a wife is like. So it's hard for you to exude the characteristics. Like, and dudes were like bloodhounds. We can smell it. Oh, she's the one. Like, we know, you know what I'm saying? And same thing for guys. Like, a lot of guys. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
What I'll say about that is, Eric, is this though. We got to do better as well as men. But one thing I tell everybody, and this is a dude too, if you want to get girls, hang out with older men that were players back in the day that are married now and are happily married, or hang out with just married men in general. And you're going to kind of start seeing different things that guys that basically were reform players or basically dudes that basically were never womanizers, but they've been married and now they know exactly how to please a woman because they've been married for 30 or 40 years. Start spending a little bit more time around these men, because these dudes will say, dude, man, you dress like a little boy. What are you doing, man? Grown women, you need to basically step your game up, start wearing some clothes. You need to go to the gym and start working out. Older men will basically put you on game as far as what you're doing wrong, what you're doing right. I think older women will too. One thing I love about my wife, something I love about my wife was when I first met her, I handed her a book, she read it and started asking me questions. But I was like, whoa, I found that very sexy because it meant she was willing to learn. And another thing I loved about my wife was that she completely skipped over how can I say this? She skipped over the women basically that she noticed were never married and did not have any dating options. And she went to the older women who were married and said, baby, this is how I got my husband. I had such and such amount of kids or whatever, and I still had men coming at me. This is basically how I did it, because I carried myself classy and like a lady. So I think for anybody listening to this, sometimes you need to honestly start looking at some of how these older men, how these older women move, and you start to realize why basically they always have dating options. And that's something I'll tell everybody that's out there, Eric. Exactly.
Hey, one thing I just want to hit on too, because I know we're talking about like ladies here, but dudes, I think hip hop culture, especially like Luke and these dudes, 3-6, what they have that song "Slob on My Knob." I think it like promoted such a vulgar. It promoted
I like this
such
back in the day. I can't lie. I like it.
Bro, but seriously, instead of teaching men how to be like husbands, like, yo, go get your career, learn how to like be emotionally vulnerable, learn how to bring a woman along. What they learned is how to have slick game, how to lay pipe. So they learned plumbing, and then they learned how to dip. Right. That's what they learned from the culture. And I feel like it's a lot of men never learned proper technique, and they ended up jading a lot of women in the process. You see what I'm saying? So you meet a girl and she's automatically like hella defensive. You're like, yo, chill. I'm just coming to say what's up. Oh, and you're like, hey, can I go on a date? Well, I'm not sleeping with you. You're like, yo, I never mentioned that. But they're speaking from his bad prior experience, because those dudes who didn't have good intention were just screwing with them. You know what I'm saying? So
men, we got to do better as well. It's definitely.
I agree. Yes.
Hold ourselves accountable.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely. I got a couple of questions that I want to ask you guys or whatever. Some people here are asking me. Okay. So first question, I'm a nice guy and women don't approach me. I'm a very good guy. What am I doing wrong? Eric, I'll let you go with that one. I wish his brother had given us a little bit more to work with. He said, I'm a nice guy, but women won't approach me. What am I doing wrong?
Okay, so we know who this guy is off rip. We know. I have a couple friends like that. They lack, women like confidence, and they're allowed to want that, right? So the dude who doesn't exude that, she knows. And think about it, women have a womb, right? They're like, why do I want a dude who lacks confidence fertilizing that? You know what I'm saying? I don't want no who like soft kids. And girls are allowed to want that. You know what I'm saying? They're like, I want that guy who's aggressive. I want the lion who's gonna go kill the prey and bring it back for me and the family. Therefore, so the guys like, women won't approach me. It's probably because you don't look like a good option to be.
The fact, bro, women should not be approaching. You should be approaching the women. I mean,
and I was going to say that. Approach her.
I'm getting some good questions. So what would you say to this brother?
Approach her. Your odds are in your favor.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact. I can preach in it every single day. Odds are in my favor. Yeah. You can tell me no, but the next person is going to tell me yes. That's the bottom.
Gotcha.
So don't be like, oh, she's not gonna, what's wrong? Nah, dude, talk to her.
Thank you.
It's her loss. If you move on to the next, it's okay.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't necessarily like the saying, but it truly is a numbers game. The more numbers you play, the more you hit. Basically, if you're a good dude, if you got your stuff together, I don't know if this brother's working out, if he's not getting in the gym immediately, because you can't be broke and short and have no money and have no game. So you can't you have to basically work on something. So I don't know if this guy works out or not, but definitely take care of your body. And like JC said, man, shoot your shot. At the end of the day, all she can do is tell you no. There's, like I said, 10 heterosexual women for every one heterosexual man. Eventually, at some point, you're gonna find people that are going to want to be with you. And more importantly, dating, the more you do it, it's not, maybe it's a good or a bad thing, the better you get. So my advice to this brother is get some confidence, dude. And
hey, Phelps, I have a funny one though, man. There's this dude I was
approach them. All right, yeah, go ahead, Eric, go ahead.
I had a dude I was trying to coach up, right? Because he hit me, he's like, yo, I want to find a wife. I was like, word, man, what you doing? and he's like, yo, I got a good job and stuff like that. But I could tell his confidence was a little lacking. But my man was putting in work. He said he went on a dating website. My man said he messaged over 200 women. So he's trying. And he said he got 2 responses. So I was like, you know what? That's not good odds, but at least he got something, right? And eventually my dude got married.
Oh,
so I was proud of him.
Okay.
But I'm like, yo, 200 responses, bro. You should get at least like, maybe 50,
75, 100.
My man said 2.
Exactly.
God works in mysterious ways. How about that?
And hey, blessings.
Yes, he does. All right, this is one I want to answer because this is actually the question I hear the most, and I'm gonna let JC start with this one. Why do men like you and that Samuels guy and other guys make it seem like there's no hope for a 40-year-old single mother like myself with kids who has a master's degree?
Oh, man.
So who wants to answer that question?
You can have that one, JC.
Okay, ask me again because I got the Kevin Samuels part, but
yeah, why do men like you and other guys make it seem like there's no hope or there's no dating market for a 40-year-old single mother who's never been married who has kids?
Wow. All I can say is, I mean, I will not say there's no hope for her.
Yeah.
It's just that, and Chris, you mentioned it earlier. Unfortunately, you're competing with a 21-year-old. You're competing with a 25-year-old, but all hope is not lost. There's some things that you just need to make sure that are on point. For instance, through my travels, I'll call it that, I've seen some drop dead gorgeous 40-plus-year-old women that have it together, women that are just banging. So it comes with confidence, as we talked about a few seconds ago. It comes with, of course, taking care of your body. The attitude's on point or whatever, and to be cooperative and friendly. You are 40 years old with kids or a kid or whatever. You understand right off the bat, my chances are slimmer than normal. I'm not 21 anymore, so I can't command the same kind of attention that I did when I was 40. However, if I'm friendly, if I am, respectful,
cooperative.
Cooperative, and I'm easygoing with a man, chances are he's going to take that time to get to know me, and he'll see the qualities in me, and he'll see the kind of person I am, and who knows. But don't think that, oh my goodness, I'm doomed. Because if you think that, then, you are doomed, because the 25-year-old is the one a lot of men are chasing after.
Yeah.
So
this is how I'll answer this young lady, because this is the question I literally hear all the time. 3% of black men in America, 3 to 5% of black men in America make over $100,000 a year. The average black man in America makes $42,000 a year. And the average black woman in America, depending on what statistics you look at, makes between $28,000 to $40,000 a year. And 75% of black women make less than $50,000 a year. Typically, when I run across the women that are 40 years old, they got their education, they got the kids and stuff like that, they refuse, and they say they make $75,000 or $80,000 a year. They refuse to date the guys that make $40,000 or $50,000 a year. So you can be an extremely good dude. You can be a teacher, a plumber, or a carpenter, or whatever. You can be a bus driver or whatever. Holla at spit game to a woman, but because you basically make $40,000 a year, she won't talk to you because she makes $75,000 a year. Not realizing that that guy that makes $40,000 a year, the dude could be very good with his money and be investing into his 401k. He could be investing into his 403b and basically have a lot more money than that $100,000 high value, whatever that means, guy who you wish would talk to you. So to the ladies that say this, I say, honestly, open up your mindset to dating men who quote unquote make less money than you. That's something I'll say, because a lot of our women, it's not cool for a guy to say, I won't date a girl because she weighs too much, but it's very socially acceptable for a woman to say, I won't date a man because he does not make enough money. So to this lady who asks this question, are you comfortable dating a man? Could you respect a man that only makes $35,000 or $40,000 a year? Because if you can respect who treats you like a goddess, because if you can respect that guy and he's comfortable being a stepfather to your kids, because a lot of men don't want to do that either, but if he's comfortable being a stepfather to your kids, he worships the ground you walk on, he makes half of what you make, but he's good with the money that he gets, I think you should give that guy a shot.
Exactly.
That's what I'll say to that.
Hey, to kind of add on to that, sometimes when a woman who earns more and the guy's aware of that, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes you can want to if the ambitious gentleman, he might want to level up a little bit. Like, yo, I could take my game a little bit higher. I'm comfortable here, but let me see what type of supervisory role, or let me see the type of consultancy role I can take that might boost my income. And not saying he's trying to do just to be in competition, but when you're trying to build Black wealth together, you're both contributing to the pot. So sometimes women are offended when you say like open up your options. But my wife, she made more than me. I helped her get through college, but when she graduated, she made more than me. And she never once said like, yo, you're a bum. Because she knew what kind of grind I was on. So
definitely. And
Add something.
oh, yeah, definitely. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yep.
Also, a woman that's 40 with education and a child, she's bringing more.
You said kids with an S, so I think this is more than one.
Oh, kids, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
She's bringing lots of, for lack of a better word, financial baggage. Okay.
Yeah.
A guy that's making 40 something a year, in time, he can make 80. He can make 100,000. I mean, I know you said earlier about the investment, but the point I'm trying to make is that man is not, for lack of a better word again, because I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I'm being honest, that man is not a liability. He's not a financial liability. She is. This man at 40 can still go and find someone with no kids that he can build together.
Exactly.
The fact that you're so stuck on yourself, you think, oh, well, I got a degree and I make this money and I can't really. But then this man has to think about financing your children plus
another man's kids.
Exactly. No,
hey,
that's crazy.
Well, but I want to make sure we answer your question, Chris. There is hope for them. There is hope. Yeah, when people say there's no hope, I don't think that's true. Because I had a choir teacher? I had a lady back in the day. She was like single for a while. And she was a very nice lady. And I think she ended up getting married in her 40s. And man, boy, she must have gave that man the work of his lifetime, because she was waiting. And that man was super happy with her. And man, I used to see them in like Target together, like hugging and kissing. I'm like, dang, choir teacher got it made now. But
40 years old, later, made it. Yeah.
But it's the attitude. There's hope, but it's just the attitude like, oh, I deserve. Yeah,
no, I agree with everything you're saying, JC. It's just like, to me, no offense, lady, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but you're not the man the man that's willing to take you at, you said 40 years old with kids with the S. I don't know what that means. You have multiple baby fathers, multiple baby daddies, or what, or I don't know if you're a widow, but if a man is willing to give you a shot and he legit wants to walk you down the aisle and quote unquote make you, as you used to say back in the day, an honest woman, you're 40 years old with other men's children, you should be happy about that. I mean, no offense, he kind of is the prize to be won, because that man could go out there and find a 20-year-old woman with no kids. So I think sometimes you kind of have to change your mindset about, there's definitely hope for you, but think about the kind of, what is it that you're looking for, and kind of say, okay, am I looking at this the wrong way? Because I can tell you right now, any household, 2 incomes are better than 1.
Absolutely.
Last question I want to ask, we went a little over, but I want to ask the last question. Why do men like you put so much emphasis on cooking and cleaning when I can afford a cook and a maid? Wow. Okay. Why do men like you put such an emphasis on cooking and cleaning when I can afford a cook and a maid? Who would like to go with that? You want me to go first, or who would like to go with that?
Yeah, you go first.
All right, so men, we're not that challenged. Men, we haven't changed over 10,000 years. The way to a man's heart, and I think the way to a woman's heart, because if you're a bachelor, learn how to cook, dudes, I'm telling y'all. But the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. So basically, ladies, nothing is sexier than coming home and your wife is basically cooking you dinner, and that's all. And she's cooking you dinner basically, and that's all she's wearing. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. On top of that, once again, this is a finance channel. If you take a look at how much it costs to cook 3 meals a day, to hire a maid, to hire a personal chef and stuff like that, if you take that money and flip it into real estate, flip it into your 401k, flip it into a mutual fund, a growth stock mutual fund, or whatever, Bitcoin, or whatever your investment strategy is, the amount of money you're wasting on paying cooks and maids or whatever, you're basically throwing away literally generational wealth. So that's what I will say to that. And then lastly, I don't know who sent me this question. I don't know what you look like. I don't know what your weight is. I don't know anything about your personality, but I will say this. If you have a woman walking around your house, cooking and cleaning, she's a maid, and your husband is there with her, and you're there, and you may or may not be there, I don't necessarily think that's a very healthy environment for it to be. And I'll just leave it at that. As a man, I would not want some dude walking around my house when I'm not there cooking and cleaning and doing stuff, cutting the grass and stuff I should be doing as a man. So as a woman, why would you want another female possibly in your house cooking and cleaning for your spouse, for your husband, for your son, for your daughter? that makes no sense to me.
Hey,
So that's how I answer that question. But Eric, I'll let you go, bro.
Did you hear about the mailman who they said had like supposedly like 10,000 kids or something like that? They said this dude was running his mail route for like 30 years, and he was showing up at the door, and a lot of dudes weren't home. So in a way, it felt some kind of that dude is proving you right. But
oh my goodness.
Can I just touch on this cooking cleaning thing, man? Yeah. I grew up, I had 2 brothers in the house, man. My mom used to say, yo, the maid is dead. She's like, yo, get out there and clean. So we cleaned ourselves, you know what I'm saying? And in my own house, I make sure all the bathrooms, I told my wife up front, because my wife, she's like, yo, can you get somebody just like, do window seals? I was like, cool. I was like, yo, but bathrooms, I'll take that. Because I know it's kind of a bigger job. I was like, I'll take toilets, all that stuff. That's mine, right? Off rip. So now my wife knew up front she would never have to do that. And I make sure I stay on top of it, man, because I have a son. I used to tell him like, yo, sit down and pee, right? But one day he ran and he saw me standing, and now he knows, right? Now my man just littering the seat. So he makes it a little hard for me. But bro, we clean, man, and we don't mind cooking. So like when we say
aphrodisiac, it literally is.
And my wife. So, I mean, this whole thing about cooking, I don't know why people make such a big deal. That's just normal. You want a clean house, right?
I think to some extent they look at their grandmothers who may or may not have been abused. Because I don't personally believe that our grandfathers were out here hitting their. I mean, I know my grandfather wasn't. Neither was the old men he used to play cards with. They told me all the stories about their wives before they died, and these men loved. They worshipped the ground. They worshipped the ground their wives walked on. But I think it's some to this extent where women were being told these fake boogeyman lies to some extent about how quote unquote bad it was back in the day when women had to cook and clean. And if you think about it, in the 1960s and 70s, I mean, in 1960s and 50s, yeah, Jim Crow was the law of the land, but the black family was together back then.
85%, bro.
80% of our women were married. 80% of our kids are growing up in 2-parent households. The wealth income gap between white and black people today is greater than it was in the height of Jim Crow. I mean, that's insane. Man. If you think about that, black people had more discretionary income in the 1960s on the height of Jim Crow than we do in 2022. So I think this, to some extent, is this boogeyman concept that, oh, it was so bad when our grandmothers had to cook and clean. And that was just not what I saw with my grandparents who were married for 55 years.
So Phelps, can I ask you something? So shit, like, instead of fellas like telling like women like, yo, we like when a woman cooks and cleans, should they like come up front and be like, yo, listen, I cook and clean too, and I wouldn't mind somebody joining me in that endeavor? Like, what do you have to say to stop them from freaking out on you? I guess that's my question to you.
I mean, honestly, this is how I did it. The women I dated, I just got to the point where I just came to the conclusion that that I was going to be a better cook than they were. And that's something I love about my wife, because when I met her, she could actually cook. But 90% of the women that I dated prior to marriage or whatever, I was honestly a better cook than they were. So cooking it was not a deal breaker for me. Now, if a girl could cook, I loved it, but it wasn't a deal breaker for me. What I learned was this: most women, whether they want to admit it or not, are going to follow the lead of a strong man. If your girl see you working 12 or 13 hours and then you come home and cook her a banging meal, she got to be a grimy chick basically to not want to cook for you the next day if you come home. I mean, seriously. So a woman sees you cooking, she sees you cooking and cleaning, she sees you working out, taking care of your body, doing all that stuff or whatever, they're going to typically follow suit. So that's kind of how I approached it. If a woman told me she refused to cook and clean and she refused to basically do the things that I wanted, that was not a woman that basically I saw for very long. I mean, she got replaced. So that's how I would handle it, Eric. Women follow men that basically are leaders. They follow men that are alphas. They follow men that basically are doing what we need to be doing, and they follow our lead. That's just kind of the way that God hardwired them to be, I believe.
Yeah. No, I agree. When I was talking to my wife, man, certain things like that, I just discussed it with her, like, hey, how are we gonna do this? Like, what do you not like? That'll be the stuff I'll take. I'll leave you in the areas where you feel comfortable so we can work this out together. Because you know what I'm saying? Like, clean and shower ain't no deal. But I remember I was like, listen, we got together at this financial bracket. We're leaving the earth at this financial bracket. Absolutely. And I was like, this is what we're going to do. And you're right. They do follow, because my wife's like, okay, bet, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? So
yep,
I'm with you, bro.
Yeah, it's that's just the way that's the way the world works and everything. Yeah, that's the way that it is. So for my outro and everything, guys, this has been an amazing discussion. I thoroughly enjoyed pretty much all the conversation, and I truly believe that if you really want to scare white supremacy, get married. I'm serious about that. I talk finances on this channel, and literally when I take a look at the wealth that married couples can create and compare that to the wealth that a single person basically only having one income with children can make, literally it's insane. If you want to basically be out in these streets doing whatever, having sex with different men or different woman every weekend, you can do that. It's your prerogative. That's your God-given right. Having said that, if you do that, though, you better have about $2.5 to $3 million in the bank if you want to maintain the same standard of living you had if $50,000 is what you were making throughout the course of your lifetime. So if you basically want to retire with dignity and respect, you basically had better have close to $3 million in the bank. And secondly, if you do want to basically live your entire life a rebel, never get married, never have any meaningful relationships, at 65, just get comfortable basically being alone. And I don't know who would want to be alone, basically, no kids, no family, and very little friends at 65 years old. And that's unfortunately the scenario I see a lot of women, unfortunately, in our day and age, and some men to some extent as well, going into. And nature basically is a good example pretty much of things working in unison. When you have a cohesive male-female relationship, it's worked for thousands of years and it's still working today. And then the last thing I'll say is this, ladies, misery truly does love company. I think I said the example earlier that my wife completely did not take any advice from women basically that were giving her advice who weren't married and who basically did not have dating options. And she went strictly to women who were slightly older, who had happily been married, and basically who were happy or who happily were still married to their husbands. So ladies, please stop taking dating advice from older women that aren't in shape and who are unmarried. Their advice would keep you in the same situation that they're in, which a lot of times, unfortunately, is single and alone. So basically, don't take advice from a person that's giving you bad advice. So my fellas out there, Eric, you touched on this a lot. Please stop taking dating advice from rappers, athletes, entertainers, and people like that. The average athlete, like I said, I talk finance, is broke 5 years after they stop playing sports. And the average person who works at Publix or Walmart over the course of their lifetime is going to have better healthcare and better benefits than the average rapper. Seriously. So basically, people, take your dating advice from take your dating and your marriage advice from people who basically are happily married, happily dating, or who were happily married, who were happily dating. So nothing builds generational wealth, people, like the family unit. And as Black people, we need to basically change the narrative that is going on in our community as far as we don't get married, we don't respect our men, we don't respect our women, because it's literally making it that much easier for white supremacists to literally destroy our community. And so making it easy for us to destroy our community ourselves as well. So, yep. With that, JC, do you have anything you want to say before we close this session? This was a good one.
Thank you. This discussion was great. I am going to, as much as I can, share this with other people. I know with the followers that we all have. I mean, I'm hoping that especially the women will see this, and hopefully, you know, they will take it in a positive way, and in turn, be more open and receptive and available, because that's key. Everybody's single, but be available to quality men so that they can have the things that they desire. Thank you for this, man. This was great, man. You rocked it, especially you both being married and you still taking time out to really share all of these gems, so to speak, with everyone, myself included, because I'm single with no kids. It's great, and I hope in the future, near future, that I'm like, yo, I'm getting married, and here's what it is, you know, because you know I do. Thank you very much. This was great.
All right, Eric, how about yourself, bro?
Hey, man. I just want to, first of all, thanks for the opportunity, man. I love to be able to just kind of share a little bit about how I was blessed with a quality wife, man. She's really dope, and she's been a blessing. And I know, Chris, yours has been the same. But for single men out there who might be watching this channel, because you know what I'm saying, don't take your dating experience from hip hop culture. Don't take it from athletes and like the revelry they sharing. And also some of these single dudes, man, they be on these porn sites too much, bro. Let's keep it real, man. Dudes be on the hub, you feel me? And yo, you're trying to date women, not porn stars. So you're not trying to just take chicks out and wear them out. You know what I'm saying? You want the future mother of your children, right, Phelps? So scrub some of that negativity out of your mind. And when you're looking for these queens, man, make sure you're coming with precision. You got a game plan. You know what I'm saying? You got a financial plan. You got a plan for how you're going to protect them. You got a plan for how you're going to stay fit. And then you're going to ask them, hey, join me in this journey. You feel me? That's all I got to say to the single fellas out there. Phelps, man, I hope your channel grows. and I hope you're abundantly blessed, man. I appreciate you.
Definitely appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. And to all the happily married dudes that I myself actually kind of watch from a distance. Some of you guys know who you are. Some of you guys don't know who you are. Thank you, because I saw how you operated and how you guys kind of moved. And it allowed me to prepare myself for my wife. To the single fellas out here, I'll tell you this: work on your body. I personally was a proponent of combat sports. I took mixed martial arts, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu. I kind of quickly realized that if a woman knows you can defend her, automatically that puts her completely at ease with you, and you want a woman to be at ease with you. Fellas, learn to cook, learn to clean, because the way to a woman's heart is through her stomach. Fellas, step your game up. Stop, pull your pants up. If you're not pull your pants up, basically dress like a man. I'm not saying you need to wear a shirt and tie everywhere you go, but believe me, there's not a woman alive that's not like a well-dressed man. And then the last thing I say is, fellas, invest in the idea of understanding how it is you can date a woman basically somewhat on a budget. So basically, free museum openings or whatever, free salsa nights or whatever, poetry sessions or whatever, walks on the beach if you live in Florida. Take your girl to a kickboxing date. Take your girl to a gym. Take her on a bike ride. All those things. I basically just named about 5 dates or whatever that cost less than $100. That cost less than $20 or whatever. So basically, date with intention, but also realize this is a financial channel. So date on a budget. Okay. So with that, guys, please please comment, please subscribe. Once again, I typically talk about 401ks, real estate investing. I typically like to talk to entrepreneurs. I wanted to kind of change it up because, to me, the best thing you can arguably do to build your generational wealth is to marry the right woman and to have babies with the right woman. So that's why I wanted to have this talk. So, all right, fellas, this has been a pleasure. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, JC. I appreciate this, fam. And let's do it and thank you. We'll do it again. Please like, please comment, please subscribe, and please share. Thank you. Peace.